like, what am I looking for? And I was like, a hive, like any sort of red blotchiness. He was like, you look fine. Like, let's go cut the line to the bathroom though, if you want to check it out. I was like, no, that's okay. We kept kissing. It was fine.
It's like, do you literally have to be like, sorry, hold on, wait, like this was magical, but I'm stopping you right now because I need to ask you if you've had peanuts?
I make it a little more sexy. I do have some toxic thoughts in the back of my head. For example, something is like, oh, I'm too much, or my allergy is going to make me unlovable or unwantable. Hi.
Hello.
And welcome to EpiPod. Sarah is a mom to 2 little boys with food allergies.
And Danielle has navigated life-threatening allergies her entire life.
Living with an invisible health condition is so isolating.
The fear and the anxiety.
Trying to cover it up so you don't affect anybody else.
Especially your kids. Sound familiar?
Join us on the couch and take a load off with people who just get it.
We're so glad you're here.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey, Danielle.
Welcome to episode 6.
6 it is. I can't believe it.
Oh my gosh. Today we are talking about dating with food allergies.
Yes, which obviously I don't have experience with because I don't have food allergies myself and my boys are super little, but I will, like one day that will be a thing. So I'm so excited to hear from you though. Like that, it feels like it must be the wild, wild west out there. And then mentally too.
Totally. I've kissed a lot of frogs. So unfortunately, sorry, mom and dad, but I feel very well equipped to chat through all of the things that I do to keep myself safe, mindset, if you're feeling some type of way about it. And yeah, the TLDR is it's go kiss. KISSING. It's so fun.
Good. That's good news. I mean, well, it's good news, I guess, if you're on the prowl. It's maybe not if you're like a parent that doesn't really want your kid out there just like smooching. But anyway, before we dive into all that nitty gritty, tell me what's been up with you.
Okay. What's been up with me? I am preparing to move apartments.
Right. Okay.
I have known that I wanted to move apartments since December, and I only moved into that place in October.
Well, you've had that dog,
There
right?
are pterodactyls who live above me.
Pterodactyls.
Pterodactyls, yes.
Mom joke.
Yeah, and they just have like made my life miserable. My dog is way more yappy than he used to be, and it's just too far outside of the thick of things in the city than I want to be.
Yeah.
I moved there because I had the most toxic kind of black mold that you can have in my old apartment, which I loved. But yeah, my lease is up at the end of June.
Yeah.
And
it's such a process to try to figure that out. Like, where am I going to be? How much am I going to be spending now? Like, am I going to have a roommate or not? Like that. I mean, there's just a lot to figure out.
Yeah. So I'm gearing up for that.
There's a motorcycle gang behind you. So I don't think it's probably picking up. But if I'm looking, they're probably like, why is she looking over her shoulder?
Boys.
Yeah.
We're talking about kissing.
You do not want to kiss those guys,
No,
I don't think.
I don't know. I'm sort of into a bad boy.
Okay. But these guys are like burly old men. Like, I don't think they're for you, Danielle.
Okay.
Okay.
Never say never. Never say never. Yeah, and it started heating up in Austin.
Yeah, it's so
which
hot.
I am not a hot weather girly. And you're like, why do you live here? I'm like, I'm not sure. But yeah, it feels like the first week of summer.
Yes, it really does. Like, I was just at the Wildflower Center, the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center. They have a big like dinosaur exhibit, and the boys, of course, loved that. But I mean, we were there early and it was okay right in the morning.
Yeah.
But man, the clock hits like 10:30.
I know.
And it's brutal. And this might be an episode for down the road, but like Graham's skin, actually, I feel like we should have an expert on to talk more about it. Because somebody told me once that like people who have eczema prone skin and allergies and things, they don't like wick heat or like regulate their temperature the same as others. And like their skin is thicker or something. And again, I'm not like a doctor. I'm totally layman speaking this, but we have to do like extreme things to help keep Graham like not itchy and uncomfortable in the hot sun. Like we've definitely considered moving simply because it's so hard for him to be out. So.
Wow. I never had eczema. Never in my life.
Yeah.
I double checked with my mom. I was like, when I was a baby, was there ever like a warning sign that I was going to have food allergies? And the answer was no, never had eczema.
Yeah.
But I grew up in West Texas. It's not humid, but it is hot. It's giving Palm Springs minus the level of chic, add in the Billy the Kid vibes. But growing up a horseback rider, I was always in the extreme heat and I never had or maybe it just wasn't aware.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's the humidity that kills me. And like you were saying, by 10:30, you're kind of done. And right now it's pretty mild, but like will hit in July and August where your day is outside done by 10 a.m.
For sure.
And that is really hard on my mental health as somebody who likes to be outdoors.
Yes.
And it's also really hard with dosing. Like you can't allow yourself to get hot like that.
Right.
So it's a big mental hurdle. Like, do I use those early hours for dosing?
Right.
Or it becomes an extra jigsaw puzzle expert level.
Thankfully, Graham's birthday party, which we had yesterday, was inside. So we didn't have to worry about that.
All about it.
Yes.
The cake.
So
he turned 6, right?
He turned 6. Okay. Graham turned 6 a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And we had his birthday party. This is his first like big kid birthday party. Mm-hmm. So he, typically we would have backyard get-togethers because it was just easier allergy-wise to control everything and have people just come to our backyard. We'd have like a slip and slide or, something like that to make it super fun. And he was always okay with that. Mm-hmm. But now, all his friends are having parties at the climbing place, the bowling alley, the, kids play place. And he really wanted that.
Yeah.
But of course, that's really difficult because
they all serve pizza.
Yes.
And they all have Reese's.
Ice cream, candy of all kinds. And I'm like, this is my kid's birthday party. I don't want to be like stressed out. I'm stressed out all the time going to public places. I say stressed out. We've totally learned to manage and I'm way less stressed these days.
You're like, I'm already hosting a party and all these kids. I don't need to now
have the allergy factor on top of that. Yes. So I was like not super excited about it, but then I was like, you know what? He has so many times in his life where he's like had to take the other option or had to do something different. I'm like, I'm giving this kid a freaking badass birthday party.
I love it.
And we're doing it. And so of course though, like I'm a frugal franny. So I was like calling around to all the places, asking allergy questions, but also like $800? Absolutely not. Totally. Danielle, to play for like 2 hours in some of these places, it's like, and you only get to invite 10 people and like have the room for like 30 minutes and then the play place for an hour. And they're like, that'll be $450. I'm like, for an hour and a half? Are you kidding me?
That's wild.
And some places, I think in like, New York and like other places like that, it's probably more like $700-800. No, thank you. I'm not doing that. But anyway, I found a place. Your eyes are like
shocked.
Yeah, it's like robbery. And then everyone else does it, so these parents feel pressured, to do it.
And it's like, aside from the parents feeling pressured, it's the kid. The first time they're experiencing like social pressures or like realizing they're different. I go to a birthday party every weekend at these places. How come mine is in my backyard?
Right. Yeah. So I know that's a whole other topic.
So how did you do it then? Is it because of treatment and cross contact? You're feeling so much better, or?
I think so. Okay. Yeah. He's older. He's more aware. He's not putting stuff in his mouth as much. His fingers aren't in his mouth quite as much. He, we've made progress in treatment. So like, he's safe for cross contact with his allergens. There's definitely a lot of factors. I am just more experienced as an allergy mom, like there's all these different factors that I think made me feel okay. But of course the cake situation. So he has always been totally fine with like bringing what we bring, like here's your safe cupcake, here's whatever. He'll make like a little comment here and there, but like he's always been very okay with it. But I will say in the last year, like since he's been about 5 in his 5-year-old life, it has gotten very difficult. And this should be an entire episode
where he's like, I want a slice of the Elsa and Anna cake, not my thing from your purse, Mom.
Like that's a cool dinosaur cake. Why can't I have that? And like, he doesn't just ask why, but then he's like really disappointed when he can't. And as a mom, like when there are a lot of things that can break your heart, but like that feeling of like him, looking at him, watching him be so just upset and feel very like it's unfair. And you want to, some people might, bozos on the internet might be like, life's unfair. He has to figure it out. And in a way, yes, that's true, right? We all have our things. And he has to figure out a way to like cope and manage and deal. But like at the same time, I want my kid to just be able to be a kid. Yes. Yeah. And so this past year has been a little bit difficult when it comes to just like him having feelings about that. And Mark and I both decided like we are giving him the giant, beautiful, highly decorated cake. And I thought, well, now we can do eggs. We have cross-contact clearance for milk and peanuts and tree nuts. So I'm like, okay.
We can order one.
Well, back to me being a frugal Franny. I'm like, I'm not spending $250 on a birthday cake. And also then, like, you're still kind of worried. Like, did they follow the instructions, like, about allergies?
Yeah.
Did they slip in some butter because they forgot butter was dairy, which is a very common thing.
Totally.
But
you're like, I'm not paying to feel
scared.
Extra worried.
Yes.
I'm already worried.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
And so we're like, we're just going to do this. We're just going to make it. And I say Mark really took this on. I know.
Needs to enter one of the like Netflix bake-off shows.
Yeah, where
honestly,
it's like amateurs.
Free business idea, Netflix, if you're watching. Amateur and dads baking epic birthday cakes. 1, he would win. And 2, I would watch that.
Totally. Because it would just be like heartfelt and stuff.
So heartfelt. And also, typically, they're not the ones who are doing the baking.
Right. Yeah.
At least that's the way I grew up.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, I think more dads are doing it now. Certainly Mark like bucks that stereotype quite a lot. But but yeah, so he's just also like a very detail-oriented person. Like I am organized in some ways, but he is like, he'll take his time and have patience.
And baking, you need to be exact and detailed. Otherwise, it's pudding.
Yeah.
Not like a 3-tiered astronaut megalodon of a cake. That thing, how much did it weigh?
I mean, it had to be so much. He was like carrying it. He was like shaking and like it was jiggling all around. And he was like, we had the dowels in there. Like you put all these like straws basically that help hold it up, and then like actual cardboard layers like between, so it's not gonna like sink into the other layer and stuff. So I mean, it was a whole like engineering thing. He watched YouTube videos and reels and different things.
Oh my gosh, Mark for baking president.
Yes, and it was fantastic. I posted about it on Instagram, so if anybody's curious that's just listening, go check out my Instagram. But it
looked professional.
It did. I mean, it was like a 3-tiered blue and white kind of watercolor look. It was a space theme. So I had bought the like little toppers. Anyway, he did all the construction. He worked for days. Like you have to like make the different layers and like freeze them and do an icing coat. I mean, it's a whole thing. And anyway, so he did all that. And then I just like did the little decor stick-ins on top, and Graham's eyes when he saw it. I mean, the best feeling in the world. I could cry thinking about it.
Okay. Also what I loved is that Mark baked a second cake.
Yeah.
For one of Graham's friends who has a wheat allergy.
Right.
And it looked
same
decorations. And that little boy got his own cake.
His own huge cake. Yes.
Wow.
I mean, Graham has always been that kid, right?
Yeah.
He's always the one that like, and I have amazing friends who have, for the most part, if I know them, like really personally know the friend, like they are going to Whole Foods and picking up a safe cupcake where like, it's not the same thing, but it's like it's a nice thing, you know? It's a nice gesture, of course, but like it's a nice cupcake. Yeah. And but sometimes it is smaller. It looks different.
It's not glitter with the unicorn spilling out the 3 sides.
Yes. And so, anyway, I just like, I think to quote Mark, I'm trying to see if I can get it right, but he was like, I'm not having any other kid deal with this shit. Like when I said something about it, he's like, well, I'm not putting any other kid through that shit. And I was like, gosh. Yeah, I'm with you. Like, we're not going to have a birthday party and then have a kid not feel like super special and included. Yeah. And we even thought about making like the 3rd top tier gluten-free, like without wheat, and having like it be literally the same cake and he just gets a slice from the top. But it was, well, one, I was worried about cross contact because I didn't know how comfortable they'd be with it physically touching. And then also, like they rise differently, right? So like it kind of looked different heights and so we just decided to do a separate cake. But yeah, we iced it the same, used the same sprinkles.
I love it.
Yeah, so he got his own.
That kid was probably like, you guys get a piece. Yeah. I got a cake.
That's right. He was really excited. So.
That is so lovely, Sarah.
Yeah, it was a really, really great day.
I am so happy for you. I'm so happy for Graham. I'm so happy that Mark's experiment turned out so well, because you just never know with those projects.
It could have gone wrong.
But most of all, my favorite part of I was stalking you online the way that I imagine my parents do, like when I first went off to college, and they're just like, what is she doing? I want to be on a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
I loved seeing your wine pour. Was like, they poured it as if they were pouring a beer. It was like a wine glass, and it was like almost to the top.
Yes.
And I laughed so hard out loud to no one but my dog and to hear in the apartment, because I was like, whoever poured that, no, they don't know that she's a food allergy mom, but like they were looking out for that food allergy mom.
Yes, they were. It was like I needed it. Like there was so much build up to that moment, and then they bring the glass over, and it's like a half of a bottle poured into this like giant glass.
I'm obsessed.
First of all, those kids' places know what they're doing when they serve alcohol. It's like they're gonna get some business, because to sit in those places for hours and like all of the stimulation, like the lights, the yelling, the blood, it's like, oh my God, I need a glass of wine.
Should we dive in?
Yes, let's totally dive in. We always go so long on this beginning.
No, but I love it.
Yeah, because it's like...
I want to catch up with you.
Yeah, well that. And also, like, these are things that just are a part of our lives. Like, yes, we're talking about dating and food allergies today, but like, our life doesn't stop, right? Between the like episode topics. So I think the catch up is fun.
Yeah. Also, we have a question today for the Q&A at the end, if you stick around for that specifically asks about birthday parties. So I think you might have you might have answered a lot of that person's question just now, but
we'll wrap it up.
She had some nuance that I feel like we can dive into too.
Yeah.
Like as a guest of a birthday party. Okay.
Well, yes, we'll
circle back at the end.
Yes. So obviously this is not a topic I really know anything about. I will tell you though, when it comes to like dating, kissing, allergies, all of that, I've definitely thought about it, because obviously like I have little boys who are going to grow up and find a significant other or someone they're interested in to kiss. And immediately I'm like, well, how do you do that safely? So maybe we just start
sharing
there.
Saliva.
Yes, because I'm like, I don't understand. Like what if they say peanut, I think, sticks in the saliva or can for more than 24 hours.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what if they don't remember that they had peanut butter yesterday at 5 p.m.?
Yeah. I'll go through like my nitty gritty safety check boxes.
Okay.
I am 32. I don't even want to tell you how many boys I've kissed, because I don't know. But let's just say, my first kiss wasn't until I was a senior in high school. I've always been a late bloomer, and I kissed my best friend. Okay, this is actually the best. I had a crush on my best friend. He had a crush on me. We were like very snuggly, like lines were already getting blurred. Like I remember like holding his hand or like telling him that I loved him, but not like I love you.
I was going to say like love before even kissing.
No,
wow.
Like the way that when your best friend gets out of the car, you're like, love you. Like,
right.
So fun. It was just, I had a boy best friend. Yeah. So whatever. He also was 2 years younger than me.
Oh.
I hope he's not listening. Oh my gosh. I'm getting embarrassed. Totally. Yeah, it's doesn't seem like a big deal now, but when you're in high school, a senior kissing a sophomore is like, whoa.
Yeah.
But we were both in theater, and the last theater show of the year was called, Night on Broadway. And everybody would sing like their favorite, like it would be like a Wicked number. There would be a Guys and Dolls number, whatever. And so he did a number with, and all like being a theater kid growing up, I was always known as like the girl who wouldn't actually do the kiss.
Oh.
Because I didn't want my first kiss to be a stage kiss.
Okay.
And so it was a 2-night show, and on the first night, I didn't know, he didn't tell me he was going to kiss the girl at the end of the song. I'm like, it's just Night on Broadway. It's not like there's a whole plot, and like without the kiss that was in the script, it wouldn't make sense. Like, but they kissed, and I was like, oh. I remember watching from the audience, and I was like,
dang it.
This was the first act. And so the second act, we're backstage, and I remember we like enter on either sides of the stage. And I remember before we like got into places, we're like 3 seconds from the curtain opening. I remember telling him, and like, we're going to kiss. Like you have to kiss me at the end. And he was like, but I thought like you wanted a real kiss. And I was like, I do want a real kiss. Like this would be a real kiss. I was so dramatic.
Yes, but also it's like so sweet and like little story.
Oh my gosh, it was like Lifetime movie. Not Lifetime. It was like a Hallmark movie.
Yes.
Whatever. So we like sing, we kiss. I remember my mom was video recording it. So my first kiss is on video.
Oh my God.
She goes,
of course it is.
Yeah, you can hear her like gasp. The whole audience, all of the students, especially the theater kids, knew like I didn't like it was lore that Danielle Price had not kissed anybody and won't do a stage kiss. So when I kiss, multiple people are like, oh my gosh. It was hilarious. And then we kissed a lot after that. But before that, like I
had no idea probably what he ate.
Didn't ask him. My thought was always just, we're going to kiss. That's the end of the story. There was no reaction. It was never a problem.
Yeah.
But like my first kiss wasn't until I was, I think it was 18 at the end of high school, 17. I don't remember. But like the first thing is I waited. Like I don't know. I hear kids in middle school doing things that are not middle school appropriate. Yes. So yikes. That wasn't my story, but I waited a long time. Yeah. And I think I felt safe also because like he never had my allergens really around me anyways.
Okay.
I don't know. I just never remember that being a topic of conversation until college. So yeah, I'll go straight in with just like what my personal rules are to keep myself safe. The first thing, as we always say, we are not MDs. You have to talk to your MD. Like, what does your allergist recommend? Not what I say. And also your particular allergy. Like you were saying, Graham used to be really reactive now because of treatment. He isn't. Or like some people aren't. Like every body is different. Every allergy is different. So definitely ask your allergist. I personally asked my allergist and he was like 24 hours is your rule.
Okay.
And that's what I tell my patients. And so I think I always did like a 24-hour, but actually looking back on it, like I just was like the next day. Mm-hmm. Like if he had something at lunch or dinner, I probably would kiss him in the morning. Like it was always just like, if you did it yesterday, that's fine. But today, nothing.
Yeah.
But like with jobs and stuff, I probably wouldn't have seen him for the whole day. So it was always just one day, 24 hours, because you're able to have multiple meals. You've brushed your teeth multiple times.
Hopefully.
You never know with boys.
So true.
The hygiene, which we'll get into with facial hair here in a second. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 24 hours. If it's like not a new person, like if you're in a relationship, like they know if they're going to a new restaurant, like a lot of my boyfriends, I've not had that many boyfriends, but whenever I'm in a relationship with somebody, they start saying things like no nuts. They won't say I have a nut allergy because that puts the kitchen into a whole tither, hopefully not a tither, but a whole plan to have no cross contact, whatever. They will just say no nuts. Like I have a sensitivity or something like that.
Right.
Or they'll confirm no nuts. That way, when they see me that night, we're good.
Yeah.
If they are not sure, like, oh, actually, like I tried this dressing, there was no nuts, or like, oh, there was these like little Crispies. I think they were onions, but I'm just not sure. Or like, it tasted like not normal. Like maybe it was peanut oil. What I learned, and again, it's because my skin is very reactive, is if they gave me a kiss either like on the cheek or like neck or honestly right here, like on the inside of the forearm, like very sensitive skin, I would know pretty quickly. And it has to be a little slobbery kiss. I really hope my parents aren't listening.
Just like, is there a way to like block them from seeing this?
Hopefully.
Yeah. We'll just like, open to
ahead.
viewing for everyone except Danielle Price's parents.
Yes. Larry and Norma. No. So, like it got to the point where like I used to date a guy who like upon seeing me, or like if he would be eating something at like a music venue or something, like right after eating it, if he wasn't 100% sure, like it didn't have a label, he would just like reach down. It almost became like second nature, like opening a door or washing your hands. Like he would just reach down and like pick up my wrist and kiss me right here, just so we would know.
Right. Like, I just can imagine like other people watching you guys like hanging out. He grabs your wrist, he like slobbers on your arm for a second. Like it's just like, it seems like the most awkward
To be clear,
thing.
he made it very hot.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a way to make that sexy, I guess.
The reason that I learned, I can't say sexy.
You can't say sexy?
No, like
why?
that's sexy. I don't know. It's not in my vocabulary.
That is so funny. Now I'm going to make it a point to use it as much as possible.
Oh my God. Like when people are like, ooh, that dress is so sexy. I'm like, what? That's a question for my therapist. No. I actually learned that system the hard way. Not the hard way. I was never in any danger, but I was dating this guy. He had a lot of facial hair. Hygiene was
questionable,
not up to my par, just in general. I remember being like, when was the last time you like washed your towels and sheets. Like, what's going on in here? I shouldn't have dated him. Let's just say that. But he walked in and had come from work and wanted to wash his hands. But I was like making like the sink was filled with vegetables, so he couldn't use my sink. Okay. So he walked in the door, gave me a kiss on the cheek to say hi, and then went back to the bathroom to wash his hands. And by the time he came back, I was really itchy. And I was like, what did you like eat? He had lots of facial hair. Mm-hmm. Gross.
Okay. And for any men listening, Danielle Price does not like facial hair.
I usually do. I just didn't like him.
You do have to clean that. I mean, you have to like scrub. You have to wash your face.
My like forever crush is Captain Jack Sparrow. So like I go grungy. I go motorcycle gang.
Okay.
But like also JFK is the other bucket.
Okay. Either or. Yes.
If any bearded men are watching and you are interested, don't count yourself out. No. But whatever.
But also scrub your beard.
That's, clean that shit. Apparently he had like Chinese 2 days before and it was just still lingering because I don't think he like washed his face, or like boys will wash their face, but maybe with like water or like a little soap. If you have a lot of facial hair, like, or one of those long mustaches for No Shave November or whatever, you got to suds.
Oh my gosh.
Suds, boys.
Why am I so grossed out right now? I don't want to kiss somebody with like a big mustache. No. I'm really thankful Mark is like not a super hairy person. And he like, when he's tried to grow a mustache before, I'm like, you need to stop. Like it is, this is going like creepy mustache, not cool mustache. Right. You need to just like shave that off. And it's a good thing because I just think kissing someone with like
a lot of wires,
facial hair. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. There have been
it can be done right, but
there have been some guys, I've had some relationships with some bearded men where I'm like, that is so hot. I think I said that's hot, not that's sexy.
Okay.
So those are like, that's just my like rules 101.
I love that.
I feel like it's also something to note where like I have kissed guys out in the wild, if you will, meaning like I've met them at a music festival and by the end of the night we're kissing, or, you know, I'm like out with friends and we're out dancing and by the end of the night, like the guy I've been flirting with all night, like we're kissing.
Yeah.
That is, as you would say, a calculated risk. Like he doesn't know me. I do have to bring up the allergy and I always do, but I am taking a calculated risk because like, I don't know if he fully understands it. He has alcohol in his system. Like I have alcohol in my system.
But wait, like take me through this. So you're dancing on the dance floor, like and chemistry is chemistry. And like, you're like ready to, have a kiss. Like, do you literally have to be like, sorry, hold on, wait, like this was magical, but I'm stopping you right now because I need to ask you if you've had peanuts?
I make it a little more sexy.
Yeah, you know? I mean, you would have to, but like, I don't know, like that might be easy for you, but I feel like for some people, like they don't know how to make it sexy.
Yeah, so we'll do like bucket 1 wild, bucket 2, we're on a date.
Yeah.
And it's like a new thing. I just bring it up as organically as I can, but I have never kissed somebody other than that one time in high school without having a serious conversation.
Okay.
But it's not just like, oh, it's whimsical, we're twirling, and then it's a serious conversation. So if we're out in the wild, my go-to, because this is how it always was in college. My first relationship wasn't until after college. So this is how 100% of the conversations went in college was I used to ask what their favorite candy was.
Okay.
All right. Like I would mix it in. Honestly, I'm like a squirrel. I always have snacks.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I would have candy with me and they'd be like, oh, can I have one? And it was like Sour Patch or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, what's your favorite candy? I remember like that happening organically a lot.
Yeah.
And then being like, if it was Reese's Pieces, I'd be like, oh, actually I've never had Reese's Pieces. I have a really, really bad nut allergy. And like, oh, like what? Like you die? And I'd be like, yeah, like it is very serious. If you want to
callousness of that question.
I know. Gosh. Yeah. I remember making out with the quarterback of the football team and this was my in. I was like, there's no way I'm leaving this bar without having a kiss with him. And yeah, he said like peanut butter. And I was like, athlete protein, peanut butter, whatever. But we figured out he hadn't and it was fine. I also will note I've never had any kind of a reaction from kissing. Yeah. And it's not like I've only ever kissed my
boyfriends.
1 to 3 boyfriends that I've had. Yeah.
Right. Like you have gone out and just been like a young single girl.
Oh my gosh.
And had fun.
Yes. Yeah. So it's totally possible. I will say, like, more recently that has happened. The last guy that I kissed, great kisser. We were out in Austin twirling around underneath the disco ball. He kisses me. We have the conversation. He was like, no, I haven't had peanut butter. Like, I don't really like nuts. Like, I haven't had anything today.
Yeah.
I think I was just nervous because it had been a minute. I started feeling like I was getting a little itchy.
Yeah.
And he picked up on it quick. He was like, are you okay? And I was like, honestly, I'm feeling a little bit itchy. And he was like, oh my gosh. He handled it expertly. He like whips out his iPhone, like turns on the flashlight, just like us, all these people twirling around us. And he like tips my head back and he's like, I'm looking, everything looks like it's the same.
Yeah.
Like, you don't look
sweet.
You don't.
What happened to this guy?
He was like, what am I looking for? And I was like, a hive, like any sort of red blotchiness. He was like, you look fine. Like, let's go cut the line to the bathroom though if you want to check it out. I was like, no, that's okay. We kept kissing. It was fine.
Aww.
I know.
Where is this guy?
Oh, that's a story for another time.
Okay. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
I am in a happy, long-term committed relationship, but it is still fun to hear about your adventures and be like, oh, tell me more.
I feel like it might be even more fun because you're in the committed relationship.
Right, yes. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, it's like, I don't necessarily want that at all, but.
Yeah. So I would like to note, like, it's not just always flowers and daisies, Like, I have had moments very recently, that being very recently, where I'm like, wait a minute, am I okay?
Yeah.
So bucket 2, like if say it's like a dating app date or it's a blind date, you've been set up by a friend, and like, I never want to have this like super serious conversation. So honestly, it's when they hear me order, even if it's a glass of wine, because I typically don't like to eat on the first date. I rarely eat out as it is right now, just like where I'm at with my anxiety levels right now. But, I, even on first dates with blind dates or in my eyes, like a dating app date is kind of a blind date. Like, I don't know anything about this person. It's just the hour or less of my time I'm giving them to decide whether I'm giving them a first date. And I don't want to be tied to a whole meal. That's a lot longer than an hour usually.
Sure is,
so I would like meet up for a quick glass of wine, and a lot of wine bars serve charcuterie. So they hear me ask my questions, and then they're like, oh my gosh, so you have an allergy, like tell me more. They have heard me very clearly communicate. I've been intense with the waiter, not with them. So like, they understand the gravity, and this is the part where I like bring the levity back. They're like, oh wow, so it's really serious. And I'm like, yeah, actually. And I want to communicate to them. Also, I don't typically kiss on the first date for these like non-date first dates. Just a personal conduct code. But I want them to know for in the future, or if I do decide to break the rules that night and give them a little smooch, like saliva is what I'm thinking about. What the hamster wheel in the back of my brain is thinking about. So how do you do that how do you bring up saliva to a man that you've only been speaking to for 20 minutes? Like what? My dog, Light of My Life. I'm like, yes, it actually is pretty severe. And by pretty, I mean extremely. It's very severe. Like, for example, and then I tell them about how if my dog is given peanut butter or a peanut butter treat, every dog thing ever has peanut butter. Ask me why, I don't know. But I'll explain to them like, oh yeah, at the vet's office, they have our folder is bright red and the rest of the folders are just like normal manila envelope. And it's because that is their system. So when they take him to the back for a vaccine or something, they know this dog cannot be given nut anything because of the owner. And he was like, oh, well, why would that affect you? And then I can explain like, oh, like if he's given a peanut butter treat or lick or whatever, like, and then he licks me even up to like a day after, like it could be, he doesn't lick me until dinner time. I'll get a welt. Like it's very serious. And they're like, oh, so you can see their little brains clicking. And they're like, so if we kissed, I'd be like, it would have to be 24 hours at least after you've had nuts. And they're like, cool. And then you can see their wheels ticking again.
What did I have for lunch? What did I have for breakfast?
They're like, oh, I had almond milk in my coffee this morning. And I'm like, oh, almonds are the one nut that I can do. And they're like, great. And I'm like, great. I'm still not kissing you. But
or if you're not into it already, you can be like, oh yes, no almond for me.
No,
Nope. We're not going to be able to kiss tonight. Dang it.
So yeah, I guess like those are my two ways that I've found to make it very turnkey and like easy to explain, easy to mix into a conversation.
Yeah.
Where you're able to convey like the nuance of saliva, like the seriousness without it just making it all about that.
Yeah. Or being like, awkward, weird conversation.
Just like not making it awkward.
Yeah.
So find whatever. My advice would be to somebody with an adult food allergy, especially the people who have had it as an adult onset allergy. And they're like, what do I do? Like, I've never had to think about this before.
Yeah.
I'm not saying tell those exact anecdotes, but like, what are things in your life that you're constantly explaining that's just like an easy, quick story to tell? And then something else I will say, it's hard sometimes, like they are trying to show interest in you. They're doing it out of trying to care about you. And I have run up against this problem with friends too, where like they just want to keep asking you questions. Oh, tell me more. Oh, tell me more. It can easily take over the whole date. And then it's like the Danielle and her food allergy conversation versus like a date. I want to know more about him. Like I want to decide whether or not I want to go out with him again.
Right.
So I just throw in like a quick, like if I give him the opportunity to ask a couple of questions. Like I'm glad that he is curious.
Right.
But then I'm able to just be like, you know what? Like, thank you so much for caring and asking. I actually like talk about it all day long. So, or I actually I have a food allergy podcast and I talked about it all this morning. Like I want to talk about anything except for food allergies. Like, tell me about your dog. Like just turn around the situation. And it doesn't have to be sexy. Oh my God, I've turned into my mother. Oh my gosh, I've turned into my mother. It doesn't have to be not awkward. Like you can just state the facts. Like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Like, it's not fun for me. Like there's so many other more fun things to talk about. And that's how I handled it with friend conversations too. Yeah. It's just like, thank you so much for caring and being curious. I'm actually like tapped on talking about my weird health things right now. Yeah. What are you going to order? Like switch up the conversation. Yep. Yeah. So those are like my very broad strokes safety check boxes that I follow. I will say, I want to acknowledge that it's something that it's not just all hunky-dory fun and games. Like I do have some toxic thoughts in the back of my head that I know just from my DMs with certain food allergy people are a natural thing to have. For example, something is like, oh, I'm too much, or my allergy is going to make me unlovable or unwantable. Yeah. Or like somebody's not going to want to get married and have kids with me because I have this thing that's going to take more attention. And I don't ever think of myself as like, oh, have a disability or I have special needs, but like I do have a disability and I do have special needs. I don't know how it clicks in my brain differently, but I'm just aware that this is going to affect what they eat. This is going to affect their time. This is going to affect the restaurants that we're going to maybe have to get up and walk out of after we talk to the manager and they're not taking it seriously. Like this will affect their life and it has my relationships. So I'm like, oh, like, so I'm less desirable of a person. And like, that's the toxic thought, like talking in the back of my head. But the truth is, I have no guy, whether it's bucket A of guy on the dance floor or bucket B of a date or a full-on relationship. My food allergy has never dissuaded a guy with a crush or a guy who sees a future with me and we're trying to see like, do we want this for the long haul? I have been through my slew of breakups and never once has it been because of my food allergy or like we broke up because we're not a match on a lot of different things. It's not like one big thing. Oh, sometimes it is one big thing. But when I looked back on all of my relationships, short and longer term, food allergy was never the reason or even a subset reason. Yeah. Why somebody was like, we shouldn't be together or why I have never thought about my food allergy. I have never, so it's just like, it is something that is in the back of my mind and that is sad and that is a toxic thought and like I have cried over before. It is not all hunky-dory. However, the truth and like the reality is, from my experience thus far, that is not true. Yeah. So,
and I mean, I think in some ways too, I would think if somebody is so caught up on something like a food allergy, like something like not being able to have peanut butter, or something like, hey, we can't go to this particular restaurant because they crack peanuts and drop them on the floor. Like if they are very caught up in that, or like worried or concerned about that more so than like dating an amazing person like you, then like that is someone you want to steer clear of for a million other reasons, because what does that say about them
Totally.
as just a general human being? And how are they going to be on other topics and other things that are like coming up that might be harder or something more to manage? Like, I don't know. It's like dodge a bullet.
Totally. And I think the older I've gotten, the more I'm so aware that everybody has their thing.
Yes.
Everybody has their ism. Some people super prone to depression and they struggle certain parts of the year. Other people, they have diabetes. They have to also carry on medication. Some people have terrible illnesses that they've had to go through really serious radiation, et cetera, treatment for. Like the older you get, the more you realize with big life events that we all have our things. Some people are just like emotionally unavailable. I'm extremely emotionally available. I just have a food allergy. Like that's less maintenance than somebody who like has commitment problems.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, I think that's another truth that I stand on is we all have our things, and my thing feels big and intense to me because it is, and the stakes are so high, but everybody has their thing, and I'm going to be signing up to take on somebody else's thing too. That's just what a relationship is. I will also say that every time I've like really liked a guy and it's about to like, you know, on the seesaw tip over to like just hanging out, air quotes, to like, oh, this is my boyfriend. And something happens where I'm like, oh, like, is this going to be annoying to them or whatever? I'm just such an independent person. Being an only child, being so self-sufficient. I've always been a doer. Like as a child, my mom said that I would become livid if she tried to open my McDonald's Happy Meal toy. I would chuck it if she handed me the toy as a toddler.
Yeah.
I wanted to open the bag myself. I'm hyper independent. And what I've also learned through several relationships at different stages is people genuinely take such delight in being able to help. And being able to be there for you and showing up for you. And that goes for friends too. Like if I'm ever worried, like, am I being too much for my friends? And I have sometimes voiced that to them. I'm like, I'm so sorry that like we had to leave the restaurant, or I'm so sorry like that my anxiety was so high today that I didn't feel like eating. And they're like, you don't have to apologize. I don't care. Like I didn't even notice. That's fine.
Again, and if they're real friends, then like, of course they won't. You know what I mean? Like if I love someone and you're my friend and you're struggling, or we need to do something different to make it safe or better for you, I mean, I wouldn't think twice, you know? And I would hope that people would do the same for me.
Yeah. And like, I have the best friends in the world, and it has gotten to the point where they're like, are you good? Are you feeling good? Like, are you feeling okay? And I'm like, we have a pact. If something is going on, I will say something. You don't have to, like, I'm good. Yeah. I know you're worried about me, but I'm good.
Right.
Like they so badly want to make me feel safe and supported that, it's always the opposite problem with friends. And I sometimes forget to think like, well, it should be the same in a relationship, in a romantic relationship too.
Yeah.
Something else that I've noticed that I think is to note, especially that may give a food allergy parent some solace, is my food allergy has given me the most insane, like, sixth sense with people. And it has really helped me with dating and relationships. It's helped me with work, with like interviews. It's helped me just like being in a place where I'm like, I don't know why, but my core is saying to get myself out of here, or don't do this, or turn around.
Yeah, like a spidey sense of like something isn't right.
My friends say that I'm 30% psychic. And I joke and I'm like, yeah, I'm 30% psychic. Yeah. I'm not 30% psychic. I am so perceptive because of my food allergy. I am constantly picking up on the smallest details that other people would never pick up on, that whether it's dating and it's like, this is just not my guy, or like this is dangerous. Like, I need to get myself out of this scenario. It has given me a level of perceptiveness that has saved a lot of time and kept me safe in dating. And it's spilled over into, like I said, friendships, work scenarios, etc. So it's something that it's easy to be like, oh, food allergies are going to make dating or kissing harder. And it's like, yeah. And it also makes it easier too. I'm case in point.
Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to say is this is like to the future tripping side of things. I feel like it's made me a little bit psychic in the sense that I can see what on date one, where I don't even know their, last name, finding out their hometown, like whatever. I can tell you what kind of parent they're going to be one day. I can tell you if we get into a car accident and I have a broken leg for the next 3 weeks, like how you're going to support me in that. Just 20 minutes into meeting them, the way that they have responded to hearing me tell the wine bar waitress or my spiel. Yeah, just like if this is how you're going to react to this, or sometimes it doesn't show up till later in a relationship, but like if you are leading with empathy, with patience, with kindness, with being really supportive when on my worst days, whether it's because anxiety or, if a reaction happens, like that's the type of person that you want to be tying your life to, or forget those high of stakes. That's the type of person you want to be spending a lot of your time with.
Yeah. It's a good weed out thing. I mean, like you can, if they respond negatively or
turn
don't
it
take
into a
it
joke.
Seriously, or joke, God forbid, about it.
Oh, I got up from a table.
Wait, is this the guy kind of recently?
Yes.
The bar
Yes.
glass of wine was joking about allergies and you're like, absolutely not, I'm leaving.
I literally had taken one sip of the glass of wine. So I was out to dinner with some friends and this guy like stopped by our table when we were like wrapping up to pay to essentially like ask me if I would like to stay and like join his table for another glass of wine. He was like, I just want to get to know you. And I was like,
very bold.
Very bold. But you can't complain about like, oh, dating apps have ruined dating culture and no one asks me out or whatever. And then somebody does. He seemed perfectly nice.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure, why not? I have no plans. It's pretty early. Like, I'll stay for another glass of wine.
Yeah.
The girls are all going home to their husbands. So I'll go stay like, woo, young and fun. And yeah, I took one sip of the wine and the way that and it was his friends mostly, but the way his friends turned it into a joke and were joking about like essentially dying. And then the way that he like latched onto that and like told this really terrible story, I pushed my glass forward and I said, I'm not going to be finishing this. And he interrupted me and was like, oh, you don't like it? Do you want to get something else? And I was like, oh, no, I like it. Great glass of wine. I am not interested in finishing this because I'm not interested in spending any more time with you. The way that you just reacted to me sharing something that vulnerable and like scary for myself, and I'm gone.
Yeah. Good for you.
Gone. And I strutted out looking as cute as ever. And I mean, driving home, I was like, oh my God, that's like when the lies started chattering. Like, I'm just a joke. I'm not wantable. I'm not lovable. And then I got home and was like, of all of the great guys that I've ever been out with, even the not great guys.
Yeah.
The answer is no. Like I would never, I don't want to spend, time is such a precious resource and the way that you choose to spend it is, it's like the most important decision that you can make. I didn't want to spend any more time with that person.
No. I mean, to hear your friends joking and not like stop them or to even like sense that you're uncomfortable and like try to change the subject at the very, very minimum.
Yeah. What would have been, that's fine if his friends were joking about it, for him to not sense it and just be like, hey, like what, it's thinning out. Like, why don't you and I go over there? Right. And be like, I'm so sorry. Like that was
inappropriate.
That made my skin crawl. Or like, I'm sorry that they said that. Like I could tell, like, I just want to get to know you. Tell me, like, what do you do for work? Tell me,
Right.
There was a million ways to handle it.
A million ways he could have handled it that was appropriate, that was kind, and he didn't do any of those things.
No.
And so you're right. He's not worth your very precious time. bye-bye.
Imagine I didn't have a food allergy, which I would give anything to not have. But if I didn't, that might take me to date 3, month 3.
Yeah. Before you realized what kind of person he was.
Yeah.
And then now in 10 minutes, you figured it out and you don't have to waste your time.
Good night.
Yeah.
Went home, opened an even better bottle of wine with my dog, and watched Sex and the City.
I mean, blessing in disguise, silver lining, whatever you want to call it. Like, of course you don't want to have an allergy. No. You would poof it away tomorrow if you could. But again, if you're going to have it, you might as well use it for good. And it's saving yourself a lot of like trouble and time dealing with these a-holes.
Yeah. And I've had a couple of boyfriends who have treated it so respectfully. Mm-hmm. Like, they have gone above and beyond. One guy that I dated, I didn't even know that I was allowed to. He's the one who told me that I was allowed to pre-board. We were going on an international vacation situation, and he was like, okay, so I did some research into the hotel. Like, they actually, like, these places at the hotel seem like they have allergen statements. And I also did some research about that airline, since you don't typically fly that airline. We weren't flying Southwest, and that's where I typically fly. And apparently, like, you can pre-board. And, like, I think we should bring wipes to wipe down the seat. That was the first time I had ever wiped down the seat, ever pre-boarded, ever anything. And I remember my parents being like, don't coddle her. Like, don't treat her like such a baby. And I remember after, like, sitting down, wiping down the seat, and just feeling so protected and thankful that instead of me being like, it's no big deal, like, I had never researched it. He's the one who researched it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're not together.
Yeah.
But
other issues can be
there.
it's
all to say, like, it's easy to say it's food allergies make dating harder, but there have been such beautiful moments where it's like, actually, food allergies have really taught me some valuable lessons about myself and what kind of person I'm looking for, and what type of people I want to surround myself with, just as a community in general.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's good for me to hear that, to think, like, there are going to be people out there who don't care that my boys have food allergies. They're just going to love them for them, and it's just going to be their thing. Yeah. Their thing that they have, this one, like, extra thing that they have to think about.
And their families too. Like, I remember the first time that, oh my gosh, I have never liked a boy the way that I, to this day, liked this one guy. And he was like, I really want to introduce you to my parents. And I'm like, what? Like,
major step.
Yeah. But I was like, whatever. I love meeting new people. So he was like, we want to, like, we always do, like, family happy hour on Fridays. They're doing it at the house. My mom's going to make X, Y, and Z. And already he could tell I was like probably wouldn't have eaten it to be safe. And he was like, don't worry, I already told them, like, you have the nut allergy. They love nuts. They eat a lot of nuts. So I just told them, like, I'm just going to double wash the wine glass before she comes. That way we're good. And I was like, oh, you don't have to do that, but actually you do. So thank you. Yeah. And I remember we showed up. I was not expecting this at all. And his mom was like, there is no pressure to eat what we prepared. Like, please don't feel pressured. But if you are hungry and you do want to eat, I saved all of the labels in case you want to look at them. Aww. And I was like, I had never had anybody do that for me before, ever. And it just made me realize, like, it's not just the guy, but, like, it was the first time I had ever met her, and she had saved food labels for me. And I remember I ate this, like, really funny, like, dipping meat thingy that she made because I felt so comfortable. Not because I was, like, trying to win them over, or not because I was, like, feeling any sort of social pressure, because I genuinely felt comfortable. She was like, I lined the thing with foil. That way it wasn't touching the baking sheet. And here are the labels, and don't eat it. But if you get hungry,
this is what it is.
Here you go.
Yeah.
And she's like, and I pulled her aside later in the relationship and was just like, that you had no, like, do you remember that you did that? And she was like, I don't even really remember. Like, I vaguely remember that. Yeah. I was like, that was such a before and after event for me. Like,
sometimes the littlest things are actually the biggest things to people. And you don't always know, like, how much somebody is being, like, impacted by something or struggling with something. And when people go out of their way or do something even as small, in quotation marks, as that, I mean, it can make a world of difference. It can alter, like, a path in somebody's life. And I think I've had people tell me that learning about Graham and Ethan's allergies, or, like, learning just about how I have to like manage and deal with things as their mom has positively impacted them. That like they feel better for understanding food allergies, even if they don't have to deal with it on a daily basis, because it's just like, I mean, for lack of a better way to say it, like made them a better person. Like they're more understanding, they're more empathetic. They are like realizing that there's something different outside of their own little bubble and world that like other people have to manage and struggle through. And so it's made them like a more well-rounded human being. And so I've had people actually thank me for that. Like, thank you for letting me see this side and become a better person.
I have too. I've had several friends, both people that I've known for years and newer friends, tell me just knowing you and getting a small window into something that I didn't know anything about before has changed me for good.
Yeah.
I just feel like if I could go back in time and talk to younger me, or even like me of last week, like you go up and down with it.
Yeah.
The right people, like if anybody makes you feel poorly for your allergy, makes you feel uncool, makes you feel less than, makes you feel undateable, makes you feel like you're a trouble to them, I would just say follow your gut and protect yourself in a way that you know that you're feeling confident in, but also know that, like, I tell myself this all the time, my food allergy is the smallest and most uninteresting thing about me.
Yeah.
Like, there is a big, beautiful life for you to live out there. You're going to have so many great crushes and hopefully have so many great kisses. And like the food allergy part, it's just sort of like the tip of the iceberg. And once you take care of housekeeping, it's all fun from there.
Yeah.
So yeah, just protect yourself in a way that feels good, but don't hyperfixate. Once you've done your due diligence and whatever that means for you, like have a dang blast. Like have a ball. You will have a ball.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing all your tips.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be really helpful. And it helps me as a mom too, to understand and to not like worry that it's going to cause any kind of like major disruption in my kids' just general like normal social plans in life.
Okay, wait. Actually, I stand by those past things, but here's what I'd actually tell a 13-year-old who's like worrying about kissing. Kissing can be pretty gross. Like swapping germs and saliva with people, and like it's gross. So if for whatever reason you've decided it's not safe or you're not comfortable with it, that's okay. You're really not missing out on that much, especially that early on.
Yeah.
And if you're like, this is advice to me from me, is if for whatever reason it's too loud for me to have a conversation with them or I just can't, the good ones and the right ones, it's going to be an even better kiss on the second date.
Yeah.
What is waiting one date? I can tell you from all my girlfriends who do not have food allergies, who feel so pressured to kiss on the first date, I answer the phone and it always starts with, blah, like, he tried to kiss me. It's only 9 a.m. If it's a coffee date, what is he thinking?
Oh
and I'm like, oh, things that I typically don't deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, you're not missing much if you're not getting like a drunken, well, I guess hopefully you're not drunken, but
those
when you're young, but you what?
Those can be fun.
Yes, but when you're older enough age.
Yes, 21 plus. Yeah, you're not missing that much. If it's oh gosh, it's going to happen right now.
Right. It's okay.
If it was only going to happen right then and then never again, you're probably not missing much.
Right.
And if it was going to happen anyways, it's like soup. Kissing is like soup. It's better on the second day.
There you go.
Yeah.
Definitely a gumbo is. I'm a Louisiana girl. People make gumbo like on purpose and then like don't serve it till the next day.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely better.
That's what kissing is with a food allergy and waiting till the second date. Gumbo.
That's the title of the episode. Kissing is like gumbo. Just don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
And it's like really hot and not gumbo season, but now I definitely want gumbo.
Gumbo's sexy.
Yeah. Gumbo is not sexy, but it is damn good.
Oh my gosh.
We have questions to answer.
Yeah, you guys.
And we're excited because this is actually going to be a sponsored segment that we're going to do every time. And the amazing Inchbug, a label company, is deciding to support and sponsor this segment, which is really, I think, a cool thing that we're going to be doing, answering from our perspectives questions that are kind of sticky or tricky that people are running into every day in their life.
And we've received so much response, like with people writing in their questions. Honestly, a lot of them are just going to have to be full-fledged episodes.
Yes.
This one certainly was. People writing in about kissing and dating questions. So thank you for the info on future episodes, but thank you for writing in your Q&A and sharing with us, and for the reviews. Like, the response has been
so fun.
I cannot look at the reviews for the podcast unless I'm like prepared to cry, whether it's like makeup or I'm dosing. I'm just like, if you prepared for some waterworks, like, thank you so much for the response. You guys are awesome. Yeah. So, Inchbug, if you're not familiar with them, they are a waterproof, personalized name label company for kids.
Yeah, and the Inchbug's owner is also an allergy mom. She is, and I have kind of become friends. I use these labels for my boys. It's so nice to be able to like stick a label on something and like really wash it, like especially if you've left the lunchbox in your car.
Oh, gross.
Like overnight. I know, but it happens. Like you're always digging a million things out of your car, and so it's like food's been in there for a long time. You have to like scrub to make sure it's like clean, right? Before you use it again. But these labels, they do not budge, and we use them for, you know, school, camp, anything that they need to be like labeled, not just with their name, but with their actual allergies too.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys, check out the show notes to learn more about Inchbug, and you can use EpiPod25 for a little special discount just for you guys. Yay, cool. Okay, question 1 is from our Instagram DMs. Here it comes, Sarah, this is for you. Okay. I have a toddler with multiple food allergies who is also contact reactive. We are entering the phase of birthday parties and gatherings, which are incredibly challenging and anxiety-provoking. My child's safety is the most important, but I also struggle with interfering too much with another child's celebration. I'd love to find a polite and non-intrusive way of collecting information from the host to gather whether it's a safe risk for us to attend. How could I recommend hand washing after eating at someone else's party? I want my son to feel included and to start learning from an early age how to manage his allergies with other kids. Do you have any other tips or suggestions on how to manage these events besides having the necessary medications, wipes, hand soap, of course?
That's a great question. If it's a close friend, right, they usually already know. And so it's a little more comfortable to like contact them and be like,
what's on the menu?
Hey, yeah, what are you serving? Like, absolutely no pressure. We can bring our own stuff. I'm just like, would love to make it similar to what you're having, so that way my kid feels super included, you know, like something like that. If it is somebody who's just like in your kid's class and you've never met this person before, it does get a little more, you feel a little more awkward.
Like you're going to be intrusive, like she was saying.
Or just like asking too much, or like you're about to be a burden, you know?
I can totally imagine that.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I think about it, I always flip it, and I'm like, if somebody asked me these questions, like, would I think it was weird, or like, would I be like offended, or like any kind of anything if somebody was like, hey, I have this thing, what is on the menu, or what is the plan? Like, I'd be like, no problem, like, here's the information, you know? Yeah. And of course not everybody is like kind and gentle, but like, for the most part, I think people are. And also, if they're like an a-hole, do you really want your kid playing with their kid? But yeah, either way, like, I usually just send, like, I'll reach out to the number that is listed on the RSVP, and I'll simply send a text message and say, like, hey, we would love to come to Joey's party. Can you tell me what you're planning to serve beyond cake? Or like a birthday treat, so that I can figure out if it's like something that's safe for us, or if I need to bring something. And normally it's pizza, right? Which is not
classic
safe for us. And so when he was younger, it definitely depends on age, right? So like when Graham was 2 and 3 and maybe even 4, we would do something like ask them. And again, they don't have to. I would always preface with like, Totally no worries if not. Curious when you're serving the pizza. Like that would be my follow-up question if they were like, oh, we're having pizza. Be like, oh, okay, do you know, are you going to have it like at the beginning of the party, or are you planning to like let the kids play and then do pizza and cake after? And typically it's that way, right? Like typically they're going to like let the kids play and then do the food. And so I ask them that. And if they're like, yeah, we'll have the pizza later, I would say, like, okay, great. Thanks for letting me know. We'll probably take off before then. And so this was, again, when my kid was little, it was a little hard to like manage that he wasn't going to like put his fingers in his mouth after he's touched something. Like it was just a little harder to manage life. And so we would do that. Like I would bring him for the first hour or so of the party, and then I'd be like, okay, Graham, let's go get like some treat at home, or like, okay, it's just time to go. I think again, age though changes that, right? 2 years from now, that same scenario might break his heart. So it's always like you just kind of take it time by time, experience by experience. But in my experience, people have not been particularly rude or like offended by just simply asking what's on the menu. And that's where I start. I usually say, hey, thanks so much for inviting. Graham would probably, or Graham is excited to come. He has severe food allergies. Just curious what you're planning to serve. No need to make anything special for him. I just want to make sure it's a safe environment and that we have alternative treats or options for him. And I don't know. I don't know that was the most helpful response, because it really does depend on so many factors, but that is how we handle it. And then, I would say I don't really ask people to wash their hands unless like it's just a really either feels super dangerous situation, or if, I don't know. And I think if it was super dangerous, I wouldn't have gone, right?
Totally.
Like, I don't know. And if I'm close with the people, if it's an easy access sink situation, I would do it. Otherwise, I would say, if you're at a random park, you're not generally asking the random people at the park to do X, Y, and Z.
True.
And you still go to the park, right? Or like you're at the mall and there's a carousel, like you might wipe down your own individual carousel, but you're not like going to the carousel people and saying like, can you sanitize, or like have all these people before they get on the ride wash their hands? Like, so you're not doing that. They've all had ice cream and pizza before coming here for sure.
Yeah.
So like, if I'm not doing it, then I don't feel like I should ask the party people necessarily to do it either. I'm just going to treat it the same as if I was in a public place.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I should have said from the very beginning.
I as an adult, I do the same thing. Like this is all, I don't like go into the nuance because I'm not a child and don't put my fingers in my mouth generally. But like I had a birthday party that I found out, I don't know, again, 30% psychic. I have never done this, but I called and talked to the to the restaurant that were getting catering. Yeah. The tacos had peanuts in them. Literally.
Tacos. And you're like, what? Why? And
it was a huge birthday party, like over 100 people.
Yeah.
I knew I'd be like meeting, touching hands, hugging. And I had something else I would like kind of double booked, but overlapped them, where like it was going to be a longer day. I decided I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to touch where it's a ton of finger food, and I would be fine. I'd be safe. I'm not going to eat it, of course, but I may walk away with some hives and that might spike my anxiety. And I just decided for where I'm at right now, the type of dosing week I've had, and I have plans on top of this, I just can't go.
Yeah.
I'm choosing not to go.
Okay, Danielle, the second question is for you. It says, I am starting immunotherapy for tree nuts soon, but I am also about to turn 21 and would like to be able to experience an alcoholic drink. Am I able to have alcohol while doing OIT? I tried to Google, but there is so little information on the concept. Also, if you have anything to help calm my nerves about OIT, it would be appreciated. Thanks. So obviously first go back and listen to
the
episode
OIT
5, because I feel like you talked a lot about OIT, but specifically alcohol
and allergies, and also alcohol and OIT.
Yeah.
So alcohol, there are plenty of mixed drinks with some kind of a nut. It could be like, I've seen walnut bitters. I've seen peanut butter whiskey. I've seen like peanut butter beers. It's out there, but not like incredibly common. Sometimes it's like orgeat. I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly.
It's like an almond something. Yeah.
Yeah. There's, or Curacao something. Oh, like Mai Tais are known for having tree nuts. So I would say if you're intending to have a mixed drink, a cocktail, definitely do your due diligence about speaking to the bartender and asking what is going in that cocktail? Mm-hmm. What has it touched? What have you touched? I personally, I mean, I love a good skinny marg here and there, but that was more in my 20s. I love wine. I really love wine. I would say it's a hobby of mine.
Yeah.
It's to drink wine. My dad, it really is a hobby for my dad. And so I grew up around wine.
Yeah.
I have never, ever, ever had any sort of reaction or issue with wine. I remember once there was like an almond sparkling champagne wine situation. It was like a mimosa made with almond sparkling wine.
Okay.
I have not seen it since. Every time I've ever brought that up to somebody, especially right after I saw it, it was when I was like in my mid-20s, I would bring it up to every, place I was ordering wine. And never have I ever met a barback all the way up to a sommelier who has ever heard of such a thing. So it was very much so a one-off. I personally stick to wine, one, because I really enjoy it, and two, because it is definitely the safest. I don't drink beer. I've had maybe 1 or 2 beers in my entire 32 years of life, and it was because I was at a frat darty, a day party, and I was so parched, and the closest thing they had to water was a Corona. So I have dabbled ever so slightly in beer, and it was not an issue. But I know that beer is, I don't know, like you mix different ingredients into it.
Yeah.
So there may be like one-offs.
Yeah, and certainly wheat is in a lot of beer. Of course. But in terms of, this person saying in that allergy,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say, if you're at like a craft brewery, you'd probably need to add, like Mark brews his own beer and like has been into beer for a long time. And like, yes, there are things in beer that would be more so likely than in wine, I would say, but also the majority do not. And so as long as you have somebody who can like answer the questions as in like what's in this beer, I think that would be a safe option at a bar, especially if you have like a go-to, like maybe it's put to this person like who's just turning 21, like experiment at home, right? Like before, and then like once you have your like favorites that are also safe, then you just get those at the bar.
Honestly, I need to learn how to drink beer because there are so many times I'm at a dive bar where I'm like, I'm not drinking whatever wine comes out of a bag. Okay. I have traveled to Provence and the Champagne district. I'm not drinking
bougie Danielle. Yeah. It's okay.
Proudly.
I'm proudly bougie about my alcohol too. I'm like, if I'm going to drink, it's going to be good.
Yeah. It's okay.
I'm in
That's
my
another
30s.
thing is alcohol. Like, it makes your face puffy, inflammation, beer bellies. Like there are a lot of downsides to alcohol, brain shrinkage. I've just watched listened to a podcast about Dr. Amen talking about like the links between cognitive dementia, et cetera.
I feel like I've seen little clips of that.
Anxiety is very real. So if you find out that you don't love alcohol, then that's one less thing to worry about. I love wine. I will say something that this person should be on the lookout for, and that has been an issue for me a lot, specifically because of my love for wine, is a lot of wine bars have charcuteries. So the same bartender who is touching the rim of your glass and pouring you a glass of wine and setting it down in front of you, touching where you're going to put your mouth, has just prepared a charcuterie. And that has, not reactive, but I saw it happen and pointed it out. And he was like, oh my gosh, don't drink that. Let me wash my hands. He washed a glass and he was like, just to be safe. So they go above and beyond when I mention that. So a lot of people, and I hate this, it's so not empathetic, where if I am just ordering a glass of wine and they're like, you think peanuts are in your Chardonnay?
Yeah.
I'm like, knock off the attitude. In my head, of course, I don't say that out loud, but I'm like,
also, you never know.
You don't understand the concept of cross-contamination. So you will probably get feedback when you're ordering just an alcoholic beverage, of you think that there are almonds in this Pinot Noir. And I'm sorry that somebody is about to make you feel dumb. so unkind of them. That's on them, not on you. And you should always tell the bartender. Most of the time, they say, thank you so much. I'm going to wash my hands just to be safe. Or they'll say, there is no nuts behind the bar. You're good. And then you really can enjoy your time.
Yeah. In terms of how it affects OIT.
Oh, right. It does affect OIT. It was one of my first questions to my doctor because I told myself, if you can't drink wine anymore, you're not doing OIT. That's how much I enjoy wine and how much of a part of my life it is.
So you still can drink it. It's just a timing thing?
Yes. It's similar to exercise. The motorcycle gang is back. They love wine too.
Yeah.
It's similar to exercise. Alcohol does change your metabolic rate. And so my doctor, I was just like, can I drink? He was like, yes, but not while you're dosing. And I asked him, is it the same time parameters, like 2 hours after? And I love this about my doctor, and it's why he's the perfect doctor for me. He's always so honest and so researched. And he was very clear, like, I don't have a piece of research or a study to tell you, yes, it's the same as exercise, exactly the 2 hours, you'll be fine. But I would assume that would be a good place to start. Like, obviously, don't drink a mimosa an hour after you've dosed.
Right.
You wouldn't go to a SoulCycle class an hour after you dosed. I dose really early in the mornings, as early as I can when I wake up. And I never would have, unless it's like a mimosa, which I don't typically drink mimosas, it will put me to sleep. So even if I could, I probably would choose to just have normal orange juice. But I've never had a problem with it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Send in all your questions.
Yes. Write us a review, make us cry, or not. It will though. And we'll see you next Tuesday. Go to the show notes for more information on our sponsor Inchbug, our Instagram handles, and there's some other sneaky affiliate codes of some of our favorite allergy products down there.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next week.